Hello! Magic! Because I couldn't figure out what else to stream. Thank you very much, Dan, for the gift sub. Which was... hang on, I'm closing my door. Which was done before I had barely finished posting the announcement in my own Discord, let alone in the other places that I post the stream announcement. And so I know he's just doing it to fuck with me, which is fine. These things happen. Horny the Gathering? Oh no. Most of the hottest cats aren't even on Arena yet, though. Like, Nazan... Oh, Nazan wasn't even printed in Double Masters, just the hammer. It's messed up. Miri isn't on Arena, which is probably fair. Miri is a pretty messed up card. Giving someone money to bully them? I mean, yeah. Premier harassment method? Yeah. Look, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying it was very suspiciously timed. Alright? I'm still extremely thankful. Don't get it twisted. Oh god, Doomsby, no. Okay. Magic! Bup, bup, bup. So, currently there is an event going on, Super Singleton, which is basically Gladiator, except the ban list is one card different. Your deck must be at least 100 cards from all of Magic the Gathering Arena, but you can only use a single copy of any card that isn't a basic land, and you cannot use a sideboard or companion. The two banned cards in this event are Oko, Thief of Crowns, of course, and Nexus of Fate. The Gladiator ban list, meanwhile, is Oko, Thief of Crowns, and Field of the Dead, because Field of the Dead is a messed up Magic card. You click link and see that it's a new week, so you windmill slam the button. Oh yeah, you gotta take the number 1 slot, huh? No, I understand, I understand. Super Singleton same IRL. Play you want deck opinions. What format? Because I've just been thinking about Gladiator a lot. Gladiator and Historic. I haven't been playing a lot of Standard. Pretty much the only Standard deck that I've been playing with any regularity has been my stupid mono-green pile. Oh yeah, I have another Mythic wild card. Maybe I should actually craft 4-mana Vivian. Oh yeah, I also got this spicy new Scavenging Ooze alternate art. Gotta keep people motivated to catch up. Hey, you do what you gotta do, man. Do I only have one Gem Razor, or just do I just have one Gem Razor in this deck? Alright, Gem Razors for CMC. I only have one Gem Razor. Huh. Jordan, what format do you want opinions on? Standard, Historic, Singleton, etc. Questing Beast is such a stupid Magic card. Cat format, that's not helpful. So, 4 mana 4/4 with Vigilance, Death Touch, and Haste. Okay, that's pretty nuts. Questing Beast can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. Okay, so it can't be chump blocked, so that's pretty nuts. Combat damage that would be dealt by creatures you control can't be prevented. So that means that your opponent can't utilize protection, because protection prevents damage. So that's dumb. And then whenever it deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to target planeswalker that player controls. So Questing Beast is just such a messed up card. It does everything. It's so fucked up. How's this deck? What? I have no idea what the hell this is. Did I make this? Alright, well, I assume since you don't seem to actually... Huh. Alright. While you hop onto Arena, if you do actually want to play, I'm gonna get in a Super Singleton game. You have to finish Blood Bowl? Gotcha. Also, I'm gonna skip this song because it's a nice song and it reminds me of The Sims, but I don't. It's slow and too chill for me. There we go. Sure. So this mono black deck is just all about making my opponent discard cards and draining them over time and just generally being a nuisance, really. Pow. So, Sanctum of the Stone Fangs, in most games, it's just going to drain my opponent for 1 every turn, but sometimes I'll get the other Shrine in this deck, and that'll be cool. Don't take the Steward. Annoying mono black? Yeah, basically. It's not even particularly good, it's just the deck that I've had the most fun playing in this event. Meanwhile, my opponent is playing pretty bog standard mono black. I'll take the 4. Because I do want to force him to discard. With Liliana's Steward. But first, I'm going to play Fell Spectre, so that way when my opponent discards a card, they lose 2 life. So Fell Spectre makes them discard, and then Steward makes them discard. Kablooey! Just dealt 4 damage and forced them to discard 2 cards, and then they killed my creature, which is not unexpected. And here's the spiciest card that I have in this deck. Command the Dreadhorde, just... You have to pay life to do it, but you can just get a ton of stuff out of the graveyard onto your side. It's great. Liliana's Reaver, 4/3 with Death Touch. When it deals combat damage to a player, that player discards a card and you make a zombie. And my opponent concedes! Because I forced them to discard Lurrus, which is the best card in their deck, probably. Let's see. I like the Aristocrats deck, but it's not... I don't think it's very good, unfortunately. Probably because I just built it poorly. But I have had very little success in playing the Aristocrats deck. So I'm probably going to work on it more off-stream or something. Try and find a deck list for it. Let's play... Oh, I have Naya tokens? Oh, I actually finished the Naya tokens deck. Oh wait, this was before Jumpstart came out though, so this is probably out of date. Does the Vampire deck have Witch of the Moors? Doesn't. Let's play it anyways. Let's play Vampires. Macho Fantastic. Really slow, but it's fine. Dire Tactics is really nice to have. Plus, my dual land, scries one. So that's nice. This guy is just a 4-mana lord. Not particularly exciting, but not bad. Ooh! Sadistic Sky Marcher. I like that, actually. Because then I can play this 2/2 flying lifelink for 3 by revealing the Thirsting Bloodlord. And then the next turn I play the Thirsting Bloodlord. What's my opponent on? Blue something. Oh, mono blue. Well, nothing to it but to do it. Blue-white control? Maybe? Certainly looks that way. What are you gonna get off of Narset? Treasure map? Excuse me? I'm gonna choose Vampire. I am gonna kill Narset. So this thing gives +1/+1 to all my vampires, and I can pay 3 and tap it to look at the top 3 cards of my library, and I can take a vampire from those 3 cards. And basically every creature in my deck is a vampire, so pretty good chances of doing that. Baffling End. Oh man. Oh well. Hey! Mavrin Fane. This guy makes tokens. Whenever one or more non-token vampires you control attack, create a 1/1 vampire with lifelink. So you don't get a vampire for each vampire that's attacking, but he's still pretty good. Especially because I have a thing that makes my vampires stronger. So the vampire that he makes comes in as a 2/2 instead of a 1/1. Gonna go ahead and go to combat, because he's probably gonna do something to Mavrin here. Oh, he's just letting it happen? Alright. Gifted Aetherborn. This card is just one of my favorite mid-rangey cards in general. It's just one of my favorite creatures. Black and a black for an Aetherborn vampire. Vampire is relevant, Aetherborn less so. It's a 2/3 with Death Touch and lifelink. So it can't be killed by shock, which deals 2 damage. It blocks really well because it has Death Touch. It attacks really well because it has lifelink. Like, it does everything that you want a relatively cheap creature to do. It can get in a lot of damage, it can take care of creatures that are way bigger and stronger than it, because it has Death Touch. It's hard to kill, because it has 3 toughness. It does everything. It's so good. I have no idea what my opponent is up to. Do they need another white source? Can they not wrath me because they're missing a white source? Maybe. Let's play as Exquisite Blood. Let's have Exquisite Blood get countered. That makes sense, because Exquisite Blood is one of 2 pieces of an infinite combo. And I assume my opponent knows that. Dopey Sonic music. Hey, Stardust Speedway is so good. An absolute classic. Oh! Followed up by Yachaz Mashif? Not bad, Dopey. I assumed so. What is my opponent doing? Oh, are they Jeskai control? Were they off of red? Maybe. I mean, if they don't do anything, I think I can kill them next turn. Oh, there it is. Yeah, they needed the double white. For Wrath. I'm just gonna play Vona. Because he's a 4/4 Vigilance lifelink for 5 mana. Oh. Well, I got rid of all of his treasure, so that's nice. Whenever you gain life, you may pay some mana and draw a card. Okay. Let's cycle Secluded Step. I don't really need more mana, and then I draw into a land anyways, so whatever. Let's see if we can get a vampire. Hey, vampires! Let's go with Voracious Vampire. You're liking elves. They're like fast elves that aren't losers. Harsh. We're gonna exile your 1/1, so you don't gain life, so you can't draw a card. The assassin stuff is fun with how aggro you like to play. That's fair. Idyllic Tutor. That could be a problem. Doodle-doodle-doo. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Kira Best the Sea God, huh? Okay. Well, let's just play spells and hope it works. It didn't work. What a shame. Yeah. Yeah. That's tough. Radiant Destiny, Vampire. Let's make my vampires even stronger. Oh, he tapped all my stuff. Call of the Death Dweller can get back a thing, but he's gonna steal my best thing on this coming turn anyways. So I think I'll just pass. Yeah. Yeah. I am gonna blow up my own vampire. Pretty sure I'm gonna lose this game. Ooh, I'm definitely gonna lose this game. My opponent is gonna start drawing infinite cards. Ugh. Boy, howdy. Mm-hmm. Cauldron Familiar got banned? Yeah. Not necessarily because it was overpowered, but because it was incredibly repetitive and boring to play and play against. Let's bring back Gifted Aetherborn and play Thirsting Bloodlord, I guess? Good game. Oh. Yeah, no. I ain't playing against this. Even if it is possible for me to win, I ain't playing against that. Fucking Teferi. What am I... Wait. Oh, Sunbird's Invocation is the card that I don't have here. Okay. I'm just gonna play the green deck. Because I assume that Jordan doesn't have a historic... isn't doing historic or singleton or anything. This is a pretty good hand. I'm gonna make a 1/1. Oh, he's playing the mill deck? I can probably deal with this. I'm gonna play a 2/2. I'm gonna pass the turn. And then... I'm gonna play this beast. Because it's a hefty lad. Oh, is he gonna double block? Yeah. I'm down with that. Gonna mill 2, but that's okay. 2 lands. Perfect. Draw a card? Sure. Let's play a Goose. Let's play a Druid. And then get in with a 5/5. Game froze. Oh dear. If it's like completely hard locked, you should be able to like end process with Task Manager and then come back in. Oh, there it is. Alright. He's up to 4 lands. Still at 20 life. Whenever a creature an opponent controls becomes tapped, if it isn't being declared as an attacker, I may draw a card. Okay. Sure. Do I want to give him a card so I can play this? I do. That is well worth it. Untap Nissa. Untap this land. Make the land a man. The land can't get through the Secret Keeper anyway, so I'm just gonna tap the land. Oh, yeah. Okay. Still annoying, but should be okay. So I'm still getting in with a 5/5 here, and then many damages are happening. Zoop! Rousing read. Well, that's annoying. Radical idea. What are you digging for? Card draw spells. Alright. I'm gonna blow up Verity Circle with Gem Razor. And then I'm gonna untap a land. And then... Huh. Why is that how that turned out? Oh, okay. So... I got a little confused by this. So... I was expecting Gem Razor, like... Okay, so Gem Razor mutated onto a land that was a 0/0 elemental with 3/1/+ encounters on it, from Nissa's +1 ability. Yeah, that's fine. But Nissa's ability turned it in... Nissa's ability says that that creature is a 0/0 elemental with 3/1/+ counters on it. So, even though Gem Razor mutated on top, which means that it should be a 4/4 with 3/1/+ counters on it, Nissa's ability says, no, it's not a 4/4, it's a 0/0. Really weird interaction there. I was not expecting. Oh, yep. So many lands. Yeah, it happens. Do I have any other standard decks? Oh, I guess I have this. I guess this is technically a standard deck. The deck only has 22. Oof. Need 4 rares to finish this mono-white deck. What the hell is in here? Oh, is it just because of... Oh, right, it's because of bounty agents in the sideboard. Let's play this mystery white-black deck and see how it goes. Why did I keep this hand? It doesn't have... No, well. These things happen, I suppose. I can play most of the spells in my hand. Heliod, no! Also, all my swamps! I needed you. I needed all 3 of those cards. I didn't need this. I didn't need the planes, I guess. Swamp, no! Oh, sweet. Hushbringer is pretty good in this matchup, because Hushbringer makes it so enter the battlefield effects don't happen, and Jordan has a lot of enter the battlefield effects in his deck. And it also has flying and lifelink. It's everything I could ever want and more. Let's play Lurrus. I can just attack with impunity because his blockers have no power. Unfortunately, the life gain isn't actually going to be helping me a ton in this matchup because he's not going to try and kill me. He's going to try and deck me. Well, that's annoying, but should be okay. Oh, you know what I can do? Bop. Pro Blue. Zoom. And because Lurrus lets me cast Aslade from my graveyard every turn, I can just cast Aslade from my graveyard, sacrifice it to give Lurrus Pro Blue, and then just zoom! Oh no, Ashiok! That's annoying. Well, that Aslade went away. It's gonna be okay, but it is annoying. Because I still have other cards to give my stuff protection. Pro Blue. I'll scry that to the bottom. Bup, bup. up, up. Let's make Ashiok go away. And now I can start killing them whether my creatures are blocked or not, because Veto makes it so whenever I gain life, I deal that much damage to my opponents. Or my opponents lose that much life. If it were deal damage, that'd probably have a lot of weird interactions with some things. No ETB for you! Effects on my upkeep? Tapping something down with Frost Breath? Capture Sphere? No. That should have been done while I was tapped out. Give Luris Pro Blue. Then zoom. And then bring Ouslade back. Which I guess I should have done before combat in case Jordan had some way of killing Luris, which I don't think he does, because it gave him protection from his entire deck. Protection from blue! I think I made this deck during a time when Mono Green was like the only deck that I was up against. So I just put in a bunch of... I put in the God's Willings just as extra protection. If I were playing that more like a Luris aggro deck, then I should have Selfless Savior in there. Selfless Savior is such an annoying card to play against, but it is very good. Let's play this deck. I know I'm not going to make the thing happen, but maybe this deck is just good enough as a mid-range deck on its own. Ooh. It's a pretty good hand. Okay. Let's get some mana dorks. I'm trying to think of how I want to play out next turn. Play this tapped and play this out. I think that's good. Pass the turn. So this coming turn, can I have access to how much mana? Sure. Play out you. Play out you. Hmm? Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Four mana, is it Murmuring Mystic time? Nah, I figure if it was, he would have played it out already. Ugh. It's fairy. Gross. Crackles? A man over here discarding Crackles? It's messed up. Finale of Devastation for 4. I'll search my library for Bosri's Lieutenant. And I'll put a counter on Cruel Celebrant. Let's go punch Teferi in his stupid face. There's the Mystic. Okay. Alright. Fiend Artisan, Temple Garden tapped. Hit Teferi. There's the first quasi-duplicate. Jumpstart the quasi-duplicate. Oscillate is nice, but how do I want to use it? Ah, I know what to do. I know how I want to do this. Tap Fiend Artisan. Sacrifice Paradise Druid. Opponent doing a big think here. Phase out Cruel Celebrant, eh? No. Pro Blue. Bring out Woe Strider. Punch Teferi in his stupid, stupid face. Alright. Oslade is... Oslade is pretty annoying to play. Like, you really have to play around it in a lot of ways, which some decks have more trouble with than others. Especially if you have ways to recur it. Like, the Lurrus Oslade decks are just nuts. Yeah, well... I'll go ahead and sacrifice Cruel Celebrant. And I'll get a Knight. Gonna kill my knight? Well, that's rude. Okay. Oh hey, an Oslade. Yeah. Pay 4 mana, sacrifice the goat. I'll get Renata. Electro Dominance for 4. Yeah, well, I will sacrifice the Fiend Artisan. Scry 1. Because I didn't have enough mana to leave up Oslade. So I should have played that differently, but... I think in the current circumstance, that still gave me... Oh, yeah. Gave me the highest chance to win. So I don't... I'm not getting there yet. if I live this turn and I draw a creature, then I win. And I suppose my opponent doesn't mess with my whole thing. Because he could just have another Electro Dominance in hand, which would kill me with Jaya. Oh, my turn? Let's scry. Yep, alright. Play Woe Strider. Woe Strider makes a goat. I sacrifice the goat to Woe Strider. Cruel Celebrant drains for 1. Basri's Lieutenant makes another creature. Woe Strider sacrifices the knight that came in with a counter thanks to Renata. And now I do this infinite times. Yeah, this is Abzan Basri combo. So every time I sack one of these knights, I make a new knight because Basri brings... Renata makes any creature that comes into the battlefield on my side come in with a counter, and then Basri says whenever a creature with a counter dies, I make a knight. So the knight comes in with a counter, I sack the knight, drain for 1 off of Cruel Celebrant, and do this until I win. It's a very fragile 4-piece combo. But it can win like this. It's a lot more annoying to play through than Veto Combo, but Veto Combo isn't legal in Standard because it requires Exquisite Blood, which is not in Standard. That is a Jumpstart card. Young Birdmancer. Well, it's Big Birdmancer. It costs twice the mana as Young Peasy. But Quasi-Duplicate on Murmuring Mystic sure puts in a lot of work. And there it is. Ugh. I was absolutely not expecting to actually assemble the combo. Because you need specifically Renata, Woe Strider, and Basri, and then for the actual win condition off of infinitely sacrificing knights, you need either Cruel Celebrant or Bastion of Remembrance. And there are some ways, like, there are no ways to tutor for Bastion of Remembrance, but Fiend Artisan and Finale of Devastation can both tutor for any of the creature pieces of the combo. It can get Zanier, Saheeli, Quasi-Duplicate, a lot of instants and sorceries, yeah. Is it tokens can go pretty goofy. Mono black. Fucking captioner out here making Borat jokes. My wife. This is keepable. Based on what I know, this is probably the Surveil deck. Which I think this hand should be okay against. Not incredible, but okay. What are the exile? Doom Whisperer. Oh yeah, this is Surveil as hell. Swing. Pump. Go full tradesies on that one. Thought Erasure. That's annoying. Let's see if he can pick the correct one. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good pick. Not the best pick, but the good pick. Hey, Trotta! More like a not a creature anymore because it's dead. Play out Timmy. Is this the version that has... oh, I don't have the untapped thing open. Whoops. Yeah, discard Erebos' Intervention. I was about to say, is this the deck that has that card in it? And it is! Wowie. Alright, and then... let's get rid of Etrata and Nightveil Sprite. And then swing! Swing for the fences! Aw, put an Erebos back in my hand. That's rude. Gonna replay Misinformation Campaign. Oh, House Guild Mage. Okay. I'm just gonna play Erebos back out. And hashtag get in. Hashtag emoji eggplant. Yeah. Hashtag eggplant emoji. Emoji eggplant. Mm-hmm. discard Knight of the Ebon Legion. Oh, House Guild Mage can tap a creature down? That's annoying. Alright, tapping down Timmy. And that's Bolas the Citadel. Oh, I can't actually do anything! There's a land on top. Damn it. Most disappointing Bolas the Citadel. Alright. Gaining control of Timmy? How dare you steal my Tim? Tapping down Erebos, that makes sense. Agonizing Remorse. What you got? No Teferi, please. Castle Lochthwain, Nightmare Shepherd, Yarrick's Fenlurker. Force you to discard a card from your hand. Sacrifice Yarrick's Fenlurker off of Ayara. Pay 2 life, draw a card. Exile Yarrick's Fenlurker, bring Yarrick's Fenlurker back, force you to exile another card. And then cast Murderous Rider, ETB, triggers Ayara, drain for 1. Oofa doofa. Bolas' Citadel is a messed up magic card. Especially if the person playing Bolas' Citadel has, like, a hefty amount of life to spare, it's just like, cast a million cards off of the top of your library. Oh god, there's a lot going on in this card game. Alright. If you're not clear on what's going on, I'll try and be a little more descriptive. Please finish the current match. Okay. What's a relatively straightforward deck that I actually have? I mean, the mono green deck actually has some complex stuff. Let's go with... What am I using to transcribe speech to text in real time? I am using webcaptioner.com. It even has a little guide on how to capture and set it up for use in streaming software like Streamlabs and XSplit. It's really cool. Highly recommended for folks that want to have their stream be a little more accessible. Alright. So the goal of this deck is to hit my opponent. Wish more streamers would use that. Yeah, I had gotten the idea off of Ty Tuesday. He had web captioner set up on his stream for a while ago. Alright, so Scorch Spitter. It's a 1/1 creature for 1 that deals 1 damage to target player, to the player or planeswalker it's attacking. Fortunately, Jordan played out a big creature that is hard to attack through. It is a 5/4 with flying, which means it can't be blocked by creatures without flying, but it can't attack unless certain conditions are fulfilled, which I believe is can't attack unless the player you're attacking has a bunch of stuff in their graveyard. Which probably isn't going to happen because Ashiok puts stuff off the top of my library, off the top of my deck, into my graveyard, but then makes all the stuff in my graveyard go away. So, Bone Crusher Giant, this card can either be cast for 2 mana to deal 2 damage to any target, or it can be cast for 3 mana as a 4/3 creature that deals 2 damage to anything that tries to target it. I should make an exclamation mark command for... it's not a burn deck. So, the thing about burn decks is that burn decks are usually trying to deal damage directly to your opponent. This is just, like, a more regular style mono red, which is generally, like, hit your opponent with creatures very quickly. Unfortunately, Ventress Gargoyle is very, very good at making it hard for me to hit them. Hang on, I'm actually going to set up chat bot command, add command. Aggro? Yeah. It's mono red aggro, basically. Capture Sphere, that's really annoying. Just play another Bone Crusher Giant. Still can't attack with anything. Oh, right, I forgot Gargoyle also had a condition for blocking as well. I was thinking it was more along the lines of Lovestruck Beast, which has an effect for how often it can attack, but not when it can block. Hey! Cool. So now there is a chat command for if you're curious, or if someone is curious as to what's up with the captioner. There it is. Da-da-da. So this guy has haste, and if I activate his ability, he can only be blocked by creatures that have haste. So... gonna attack Ashiok, the Planeswalker, with Tin Street Dodger. And then just attack Jordan directly with my other creatures. Whistle Song, oh yeah. Gotta have Life is Beautiful. It's one of the best songs ever. Yeah, that's fine. There was actually a way I could have played out that turn way better, but it's okay. So, play out Scorch Spitter. Teferi's Tutelage. Wonder what the Deadly Premonition 2 soundtrack is like. Might figure that out sometime this week, because apparently there was a performance patch put out like yesterday, a day or two ago, for Deadly Premonition 2, so I'm probably going to actually start my playthrough of that sometime soon. Alright, Ashiok goes away, mills some more cards, makes the cards go away. Oh. No, I'll do that next turn. So, attack. Each of these does 1 damage to the opponent before it actually hits them. And then Chandra's Spitfire is a neat card because whenever an opponent is dealt non-combat damage, so damage that isn't being dealt like by the creature actually hitting you, like direct damage effects, Chandra's Spitfire gets +3/+0 until end of turn. So it gets real strong. Because each of these Scorch Spitters deals 1 damage when they attack. So if everything attacks, the 2 Scorch Spitters deal 1 damage each, and each of those points of damage makes Chandra's Spitfire get +3/+0. And I think I win here. So, cast Shock, targeting my opponent. Chandra's Spitfire gets stronger, deal 2 damage to my opponent. Attack with everything. Both of the Scorch Spitters deal 1 damage each. Chandra's Spitfire gets very strong, and then I play Embercleave and attach it to Chandra's Spitfire, and Chandra's Spitfire deals 22 damage. Oh no. What's wrong, Jordan? Did you have a way to get rid of the Spitfire? You could have dealt with the Phoenix. Yep. Yep. You had Frostlings. Yeah, that would have bought you a turn. I think Embercleave would have sealed the deal anyways, but yeah. Embercleave is a messed up card. So, for those that are not familiar with Embercleave, let me just take a quick look at it. It's messed up. So, it costs 6 mana, but it costs 1 generic mana less for each attacking creature. So if you're attacking with 4 creatures, it only costs 2 red mana. And when it enters the battlefield, you can attach it to a creature, and it has Flash, so you can cast it at basically any time. The creature that you attach it to gets +1 power, +1 toughness, and has double strike and trample, so it deals its damage twice, and even if it gets blocked, any excess damage after killing the creature goes through. And usually, that just kills your opponent. Because even if you put it on a creature that only has 2 power, then it gets +1 power from having it equipped. So now it has 3 power. And then it gets double strike, so it's dealing 6 damage. And then all of the excess damage goes through whatever blocking creature. Even with that, well, if you didn't have the discounting for attacking creatures, it would probably be too slow for a lot of decks. Okay, direct challenge. let's play one of the more complicated decks that I have. Really strong card that takes time to use. I mean, that's... yeah. But that is in a standard environment where all of the strongest decks are ramp decks, which take forever to happen. So, basically every card in my deck has an ability called Cycling. So you can discard the card and pay the mana cost. So in this case, 1, to draw a card. Pretty simple, but this deck relies on all of the cards in it having synergies for cycling. So this guy, whenever you cycle another card for the first time each turn, you create a 1/1 creature. Da-da-da. So even if I don't have any effects out on the battlefield that benefit from me cycling cards, it's still good to cycle cards because I have some cards that also care about how many cards with cycling I have in my graveyard. So even if I'm not doing anything now and I'm just playing cards, even if I'm just like spending mana to discard cards and draw cards, it adds up over time. Still need one more Sorin before your vampires are ready. Yeah, I've been playing that vampire deck a lot, and it's a lot of fun, even if I just get curb stomped in a lot of matchups. So, as for what my opponent is doing, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you put a counter on it. It has flying, so it's hard to block. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you create a 1/1 bird with flying. So, his deck is mostly about just cast spells, or cast non-creature spells to either make the creatures that you do have stronger, or to make more creatures or to deal more damage. It's similar to my deck in how a lot of the creatures aren't necessarily there just for killing your opponent. A lot of the creatures are also there to gain some sort of synergy off of the thing that you're already doing. Oh yeah, so this guy, whenever I cycle a card, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. This guy, whenever I cycle a card, it gets a +1/+1 encounter. The flavor text for the fox is so good. Day 1, these fox pups have really taken to me. Day 4, big, so big, need additional security. Jonald, mission naturalist, research notes. So, this is the fox when you first cast it. This is the fox after you've cycled a couple of cards. Let's play out this guy, who makes it so I gain life whenever I cycle cards. Good fox. Yeah, it is a good fox. Blue. Blue isn't too bad in some circumstances. Zoom! These foxes get very big. Saheeli. So Saheeli says whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you get a 1/1. More non-creature spell. So non-creature spells are planeswalkers. These things that usually they have activated abilities, you can attack them as if they were players, which makes their loyalty, which is that number in the bottom, go down. And they either gain or lose loyalty by activating their abilities. And they are also a non-creature spell, so Sprite Dragon got bigger, but it's not an instant or sorcery, so Murmuring Mystic didn't make a bird. Is that an Izzet Planeswalker? It sure is. Izzet is the term used for the blue and red color combination. Best guild? Yeah. A lot of people think so. Oh, so here's the card that that cares about how many cards with cycling I have in my graveyard. Deals X damage to any target, and you gain X life, where X is the number of cards with cycling in your graveyard. Currently, this is going to deal 11 damage. So let's see if my opponent has a counterspell. Did not. Did not have a counterspell. So yeah, this is the card that I was referring to earlier when I said, like, even if I'm not actually doing anything this turn, if I'm cycling cards, I'm still building towards something. This card is the thing that I'm building towards. Do I have any deck without these boring instant win cards? Are you ever going to get to play the game? I mean, you've gotten to play the game quite a bit. There's some games that you almost won. But, milling is a super slow strategy. The Izzet deck... The Izzet deck is in a weird spot in terms of playing against a lot of decks. I think with the Izzet deck, you want to play it more control rather than a more proactive token-style deck. Because even if you make a million birds, you're not actually killing your opponent until like turn 6 or 7. So it takes a while to rev up, so you kind of need more ways of stopping your opponent from doing stuff. Really impressed with how well the Captioner works. You wouldn't have expected Counterspell as a compound word or capitalizing Deadly Premonition. Yeah, it's great. The Captioner is really good. All right, I'll play one of my slower decks. It's fun to watch a Storm deck fizzle. I mean, that wasn't a Storm deck. That was just generate value off of casting non-creature spells, which isn't unusual. The problem with Storm is that Storm plays, like, the turn in which you're going to win with Storm, you're playing for like several minutes without your opponent having anything to do or say. And then you win. In general, for a deck not having a win condition occur. What color is this deck? Black, white, you see a mountain. This is Mardu, which is black, red, and white, which is my favorite color combination. You had a friend who had a Storm deck where turn 1, you just start another game, and then 7 minutes later, he informs you who won. Yeah, sometimes... some decks are just like that. So, this deck is an Aristocrats-style deck. So the main gameplay focus is to generate value out of my creatures dying, or sacrificing my creatures, getting ways of getting value out of my creatures multiple times over, so like getting a creature back from the graveyard and stuff like that. Black, red, white is a brew deck. According to Wooburg order, which is how the colors of Magic are usually sorted, white, blue, black, red, green, it would be a Wooburg deck. Oh yeah, so my opponent is currently playing a deck that is based around a mechanic called Amass, which is whenever something amasses, you put a +1/+1 counter on an army you control, or if you don't control a zombie army token, then you make one. It's a pretty nifty mechanic. So, Luminous Broodmoth is one of my favorite Magic cards in a long time. 4 mana, 3/4 flying. Insect, unfortunately. I'm not a big fan of it being a bug, but what it does is fucking incredible. Whenever a creature you control without flying dies, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with a flying counter on it. So, obviously, Jordan killed it because it's an extremely powerful card. But, Luminous Broodmoth can do a whole lot in a deck like this, just generating tons and tons of value off of just repeatedly getting cards back over and over. Is there a lamp card that exiles it? I mean, kinda. It being an insect bugs you. I get it! Thank you very much for the Twitch Prime subscription, Ashok. I'm gonna play Priest of the Forgotten Gods, which is a pretty neat card. Tap and sacrifice 2 other creatures. Any number of target players each lose 2 life and sacrifice a creature. You gain 2 black mana and draw a card. Oh, thank you very much for the Twitch Prime subscription. It's Explosive Crate. Oh yeah, and that's as good an excuse as any to remind people, hey, if you have Amazon Prime, you can link your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, and you get a free subscription to any channel. It doesn't cost you anything extra, you just get it. Not using your Twitch Prime sub for anything? Yeah. As good an excuse as any. So, there's a lot going on here. I'll try and go over it. So, I cast a spell to try and kill his creature. He casts a spell to try and counterspell my spell unless I pay 3 mana. So I activated the ability of Priest of the Forgotten Gods, where I can sacrifice 2 other creatures in order to force my opponent to sacrifice a creature, lose 2 life, and then I get 2 extra mana and draw a card. So now I have enough mana to pay for the cost. Ta-da! The dreaded stack. Yeah. First in, last out. So whenever a new thing happens, it goes on to the stack. So a thing happens, and it's on the stack. Something new happens. That thing goes onto the stack on top of the thing that already happened. And then the stack resolves from the top of the stack downwards. So the thing that happened after... the thing that happened in response to the first thing that happened happens first. It can result in a lot of really weird interactions. Zoom! Love when they got rid of Mana Burn and we just kept reminding everyone that you can't attack creatures. So, Mana Burn was a mechanic in ye olde ancient times, where if you had mana in your mana pool, if that mana would go away, like, from moving on in the turn, like changing phases, then you lose life equal to the, or you probably take damage equal to the number, equal to the amount of mana that was going away. It was a bad mechanic. Leyline of Sanctuary is still in Standard? Oh yeah! Crazy. Wow, countering with spell, eh? Rude. I will play Dreadhorde Butcher and Serrated Scorpion instead, and then I will sacrifice both of them to Priest of the Forgotten Gods. Dreadhorde Butcher. Dreadhorde Butcher is a weird card. So, it's a 1/1 with haste that costs 2 mana. If it deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, it gets a +1/+1 counter. And then, if it dies, it deals damage equal to its power to any target. So, like, if it keeps getting in damage to players and planeswalkers, it gets really big, and then when it finally dies, it can explode into a huge amount of damage. Unfortunately, it's not living long enough to have that happen here, but it can happen. I didn't draw into anything that I could actually cast with the mana that I got off of Priest of the Forgotten Gods, so nothing happens. You really like Dreadhorde Butcher. It's a really cool card. Highly recommended. Callous Dismissal. Returning a thing to my hand. Amassing, so he gets a new zombie army. I'm going to play Priest of the Forgotten Gods back out. I'm going to play Cruel Celebrant. And then I'm going to play Mayhem Devil, which is probably one of the most powerful cards in this deck. Whenever a player sacrifices a permanent, he deals 1 damage to any target. So, if I sacrifice 2 creatures with Priest of the Forgotten Gods, then I get to deal 2 damage to things. So, and each of the sources of damage are separate instances of damage. So if I wanted to do 1 damage to 2 different things, I have that option. Also, yeah, opponent conceded, because I was in a really, really good position. This deck is rude. It's something. Unfortunately, it being a deck that uses 3 different colors of mana can make it inconsistent sometimes, and also it relies pretty heavily on specific cards in order to work the way that it wants to work. So if your opponent, like, counters all of the important spells that you're casting, or kills all of the important creatures, then it can kind of just spin its wheels for a while and not accomplish a whole lot. Instant win cards get harder when you can sideboard, yeah. In the interest of not making each of these games go on for a really long time and, you know, mix things up a little more, I'm not going for full-on sideboard games. Full-on best of 3. Can mono colors work? You just want to green it up? Sure. I will show you mono green, I guess. Because I'm running out of decks to play. So mono green, usually the game plan is play big creature. Hit opponent with big creature. Oh yeah, so this is one of the weirder mechanics. So, adventure cards. So, cards that have adventures. Adventures are usually instants and sorceries. And you can cast a creature that has an adventure for its adventure spell. So, this adventure spell, Heart's Desire, 1 green mana for a sorcery, create a 1/1 white human creature token. And then I can cast the creature that had the adventure afterwards, just as a creature. And so Lovestruck Beast is a 5/5 for 3 mana, and it can't attack unless you control a 1/1. So it synergizes with itself. You create a 1/1 off of its adventure, and then later on you cast it for 3 mana, and then it can attack because you have the 1/1. A Miller. I gotta beat him. Yeah. I mean, I'm hoping I do. I'm having a bit of a slow start, but should be okay. So Yorvo is a 0/0 that comes in with 4 +1/+1 counters. which is weird. Whenever another green creature enters the battlefield under your control, you put an extra counter on Yorvo, and then if the creature that came in is bigger than Yorvo, even after it gets the +1/+1 counter, Yorvo gets an extra counter. So you play another creature, Yorvo gets bigger, and then if the creature is still bigger, Yorvo is like, well, that's unacceptable. And then there's Questing Beast, which is just straight up a fucked up Magic card. 4 mana, a creature that costs 4 mana for a 4/4, 4 power, 4 toughness. It has Vigilance, which means it doesn't tap when it attacks. Death Touch means if it deals damage to a creature, that creature dies, no matter how much damage is dealt. And Haste, so it can attack the turn that it comes in. It can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less, so creatures like, well, Wall of Lost Thoughts, which is generally just designed to block big creatures, can't even block it because it has 0 power. It's not strong enough to block Questing Beast. Combat damage that would be dealt by creatures you control can't be prevented. Kind of a corner case situation, but it does make certain cards just not work if Questing Beast is around. And whenever Questing Beast deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to target Planeswalker that player controls. So, if I hit Jordan right now with Questing Beast, then Questing Beast also deals damage to Teferi. Yeah, the censorship on the captioner is a little wonky. It tries to uncensor certain things, but some things just that it can't figure out how to uncensor it anyways. Like porno. Why is porno censored? It doesn't really seem that bad. Fuck usually is not censored, but fucker, fucking, fucks. Fucks specifically gets censored for some reason. So, dealt 4 damage to him, and 4 damage to Teferi. Oh, it uncensored porno? Huh. I guess sometimes it'll get it. Alright. My opponent is milling me, and milling is just, you take the top card off of the target player's deck and just put it directly into the graveyard. So the goal for milling decks is usually putting their entire deck into their graveyard, because if you try and draw a card from your deck, but your deck is empty, you lose the game. How many Planeswalkers do you have in your deck? A couple. The Great Henge. It costs X less to cast, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control, so it costs 6 less mana to cast because Yorvo is so big. And then it taps for 2 green mana, and you gain 2 life when you tap it. So you don't have to spend the mana, so you can just tap it to gain 2 life. And whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, you put a +1/+1 counter on the creature and draw a card. Which is fucking absurd. So, Vivian lets me cast the top card of my library at it lets me look at the top card of my library at any time, and I can cast creature spells off the top of my library. So if I look at the top of my library and that top card is a creature, I can cast it. And her abilities are, you can make a green beast that has a keyword, so either reach, which means it can block creatures with flying, trample, which means if it kills a creature and still has power, the extra power gets dealt to your opponent, or Planeswalker, if they're blocking in protection of a Planeswalker. And she also has an ability, when you cast your next creature spell this turn, search your library for a creature card with lesser converted mana cost, put it onto the battlefield, and shuffle your library. And I was about to do that, so... for example, I activate that ability, and then I cast Elder Gargaroth, which costs 5 mana. I can then look through my library for a creature spell that costs less than 5 mana, and that creature just gets put onto the battlefield. In addition to me still getting the big stupid idiot. Elder Gargaroth is also very strong. Vigilance, it doesn't tap when it attacks. Reach, it can block creatures with flying. And Trample, extra damage goes through. Whenever it attacks or blocks, you can make a 3/3. You can gain 3 life, or you can draw a card. And it also has 6 power and 6 toughness, and it only costs 5 mana. It's crazy. So yeah, mono green is very much viable. The problem with mono green is that it requires a lot of cards that are either rare or mythic rarity, which if you're just starting Magic Arena, it can be hard to build up enough cards, enough wild cards, which you can just redeem for any card of that rarity. It can be hard to build up enough wild cards to make the full deck. Miller dies, green thrives. It was close. I mean, they got me down to 8 cards in library. If I didn't kill them that turn, then they were going to win by making my entire deck go away. But I was able to deal enough damage quickly enough.
Let's look at the...
What decks have I not played? I've got the mono white deck, but I know that Jordan explicitly hates the mono white deck. Play this one, I guess?
This is most disturbing.
So this deck is built off of a weird new mechanic. Why did I keep this hand? I can't act. Well, I've made a mistake. Okay, cool. I can actually play the deck. So, this deck is built around a mechanic called Mutate. So, if you look at the description here, if you cast this spell for its Mutate cost, put it under or over target non-human creature you own. They mutate into the creature on top, plus all abilities from under it. Which is a lot to parse. But the fundamentals are... Okay, so, Mothra's Great Cocoon, which is an alternate it's basically an alternate art of a different card. Whenever this creature mutates, put a +1/+1 counter on it, right? And then this creature, I can pay 1 mana and tap it. Look at the top card of your library. If it's a land, you can put it onto the battlefield. If you don't put the card onto the battlefield, put it into your hand. And and then it also has the ability, whenever this creature mutates, put a +1/+1 counter on it from the Cocoon. So it's either the Cocoon that has Parcel Beast's ability, or it's Parcel Beast that has the Cocoon's ability. But the Parcel Beast has better stats, so we're going with the Parcel Beast. So I'm going to activate its ability. I am going to put that land onto the battlefield. And then I'm going to pass the turn. Teferi's Tutelage. So Jordan here is getting his milling engine going. What you hate about mutation is that it lets you skip summoning sickness. Yeah, so if you mutate onto a creature that has been on... Normally, when you play a creature, unless it has haste, you can't attack or use its abilities until the next turn. But if you mutate a creature that is already onto the field, that creature has not entered the battlefield, so you can still do... you can still attack and activate its abilities, because it hasn't entered the battlefield, even though you put a new card onto it, or under it, or whatever. Also, yeah, Teddy does have a point. Just going straight up mono blue mill with, like... I know you have, like, Capture Sphere and a couple of minor sources of removal and stuff like that, but... It's generally going to be pretty slow against most decks that you're going to be up against. So, Trumpeting Gnar, whenever this creature mutates, create a 3/3 green beast. So now, whenever this creature mutates, I get an extra creature. And then this stack, it's Parcel Beast, but also it's Polywog Symbiote. Each creature spell you cast costs 1 less if it has Mutate. And then whenever you cast a creature spell, if it has Mutate, draw a card. And then discard a card. So this is a way of kind of finding spells and creatures and stuff that I need. But for right now, I'm just going to attack and try and kill Jordan. I'm going to leave this in my hand in case I need a card to discard off of the Polywog's ability. Because if you have no cards in hand and you draw a card but then have to discard a card, you're just milling yourself, basically. And I don't want to do my opponent's job for him. Sure. Alright. Opponent played, whenever... Verity Circle, it's an enchantment. Whenever a creature an opponent controls becomes tapped, if it isn't being declared as an attacker, you may draw a card. So if I'm tapping a creature in order to, like, activate an ability that requires tapping the creature, then they get to draw an extra card. I've got 19 cards left in library, so it's gonna be... Could be pretty tough for them to actually make all of the cards in my library go away before I'm able to kill them, but we'll see. Vantress Gargoyle. I'm pretty sure Jordan does have Vantress Gargoyle in that deck. Just maybe only 1 or 2 of them. Alright, so Gadwick, when it enters the battlefield, so you can cast it for X blue, blue, blue. It's a 3/3, and when it enters, you draw X cards. So you can just pay extra mana into him to draw cards when he comes in. And whenever you cast a blue spell, you can tap a non-land permanent an opponent controls, so if you have instant speed blue spells, you can tap down your opponent's creatures before they have the opportunity to attack. Didn't Say Please would be a pretty good addition to this mill deck, yeah. Alright. So this octopus has... it has flash, so I was able to mutate it at instant speed. So a lot of things are happening. So, I mutated my Zagoth Mamba. So whenever this creature mutates, target creature an opponent controls gets -2/-2 until the end of turn. So I mutated it at instant speed, so I was able to give the -2/-2 to a thing at instant speed. And the octopus also has the ability, whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Flash mutate, yeah, it is not the only instance of flash mutate. So it gives, like, you can kind of use flash mutate creatures as, like, instant speed, like an instant speed combat trick or something, like I did there. Also, I think Jordan's gonna win this one. All he has to do is draw a card, and I lose the game. Or make more cards off the top of my library go away. So this deck was not... I was not able to kill them fast enough because my creatures did not get big enough. And he played out a 0/4 very early, which was able to block most of the creatures that I was playing. So, can't believe I lost. I mean, this is one of the worst decks that I have. And I mean, the mono... I genuinely think the mono blue mill deck is not great. Like, it's very slow, and without more controlling elements, you kind of just have to hope that your opponent isn't going to kill you fast enough. Having, like, walls, like, having the 0/4 helped in that matchup, but against a lot of decks that are going around right now, it's not enough. It is too slow before your opponent gets to do whatever they're planning to do and obliterate you from the face of the earth. I can do it, probably. Opponent has cancelled the challenge. Oh. Menu broke. Yeah, I figured that was the case. So this deck is kind of just a worse version of a deck that I played earlier. We'll see how it goes, I suppose. This is an okay hand. I'll keep it. Scry 1. I'm gonna keep that card on top. I am here to tell you that I'm sabotaging your stream and will make it play nothing but old school RuneScape music. Prepare yourself for 5 hours of Sea Shanty 2 unless you send a party tat to my PKer account. Oh, here. Sorry. Sorry, let me play along. Oh no! How could you have possibly done this to me? Oh no! My stream, it's ruined! Oh my god! Is this deck brew again? No, this is just white and black. Boop! So this creature, whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you may exile it. If you do, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's a 1/1 and is a nightmare in addition to its other types. So this is a pretty cool creature. So, like, if Tithe Taker died, Tithe Taker would die, anything that happens when it dies would happen, but then I get another Tithe Taker, except it's a 1/1. It's neat. Sure. I'll leave that on top. And then I'll play Teysa Karlov. If a creature dying causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. That's a lot of words, but it'll make more sense in context. Uh-huh. Alright. Boop-a-doop. Aw, didn't go for it. So, if one or more creature tokens would be created under your control, that many 4/4 White Angel creature tokens with Flying and Vigilance are created instead. So I am going to have to block Nightmare Shepherd with... Oh wait, no, I can't, because it has Menace. Yeah. So, I couldn't target it because it has Hexproof from Gleaming Overseer, and it also had Menace, so I needed 2 creatures with Flying to block it. Yeah. The Amass deck, which is basically built around just making one super powerful creature, can be pretty fragile, because if any of the creatures that are giving your army special abilities then you could set yourself up for pretty big failure. But if you manage to get all your things that just make your zombie army super strong, then that can happen. Because I wouldn't even be able to just, like, try and kill him before his army killed me, because he also had an enchantment that, in addition to amassing for 1 every turn, which is just make the army bigger by 1 every turn, it also makes it so that if a zombie token, which the army is, with 6 or more power attacks, it gets lifelike. So he was gaining a ton of life in addition to making a very large zombie very hard to deal with. I believe the nerd that you're looking for, Jordan, is Teddy. Enforcer is a rare like every other card, and it happens. Alright, well, if Jordan is done for now, I'm going to play more 100-card Historic Singleton. Have I updated Sick Games to have the Infinite? I have. Cool. Rares are powerful, yeah. Alright. Let's play Sick Games, which is a life gain deck. So this deck has a lot of synergies and cool effects that happen whenever I gain life, or if I have enough life. Stuff like that. Opponent goes first. This hand is pretty garbage. Doesn't really do anything, so I'm gonna mulligan. This hand is also bad because these two lands both come in tapped. But I will keep it because it does more than the other hand did. Hey, sweet. Alright. Plains, and I'm gonna play this cat. At the beginning of combat in your turn, if you control 3 or more creatures, Leonin Vanguard gets +1/+1 until end of turn, and you gain 1 life. So, even gaining just a little bit of life can be pretty good for this deck. My opponent is playing Sultai, which is green, blue, black. So I am going to kill this creature. Because this creature... whenever it deals combat damage to a player, look at the top 3 cards of that player's library, exile one of them face down, put the rest into their graveyard. You may look at it and cast that card as long as it remains exiled, and you can spend mana as if it were mana of any color to cast that card. So basically that card just steals potentially really good cards off of the top of your library. They still have to pay mana in order to cast the cards that it steals, but you don't want it to do that. Resplendent Angel, a 3/3 flying creature, or flying angel, for 3 mana. At the beginning of each end step, if you've gained 5 or more life this turn, create a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying and vigilance. And you can pay 6 mana into it in order to give it +2/+2 and lifelink. Which is good. I'm going to cast Linden, the Steadfast Queen. Whenever a white creature you control attacks, you gain 1 life. I'm not going to attack because he has a creature that is 6 power, 6 toughness, and flies. So there's not really a way for me to get around that at the moment. Path of Discovery. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, it explores. In order to explore, you reveal the top card of your library, put it into your hand if it's a land, otherwise you can put a +1/+1 counter on the creature that explored, and then you can either leave the card on top of your library or put it into your graveyard if it's a card that you don't want. It's pretty good. So I'm going to cast... So I could get rid of Path of Discovery, or I could make myself gain 4 life, and then I'll gain 1 life off of the Leonin Vanguard. I think I'll hold on to it. For now, I'm just going to cast Veto. Whenever I gain life, each target opponent loses that much life. So, even if I do nothing else, every turn, Veto is going to deal 1 damage to my opponent from Leonin Vanguard. I'm not exactly sure what my opponent is playing. Kind of just green, blue, black, good stuff. Alright, so this guy can steal a card. He stole Mangara the Diplomat, which is a pretty good card. Does a lot of stuff. Whenever an opponent attacks with creatures, if 2 or more of those creatures are attacking you and planeswalkers you control, draw a card. So if I attack him with a bunch of creatures, he gets to draw a card. And then if I cast 2 spells in a turn, my opponent gets to draw a card. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to cast Heliod's Intervention, and for the effect, target player gains twice X life. So I'm going to gain 6 life, because I'm paying X for 3. So that's going to cause my opponent to lose 6 life off of Veto. And then Leonin Vanguard makes me gain a life, which makes my opponent lose a life. And then at the end of my turn, Resplendent Angel happens, and I get a 4/4 Angel. Leyline Prowler. Death Touch, Lifelink, and it can tap to add mana of any color. That's a Nightmare Demon. Hey! Baneslayer Angel has protection from demons. It also is a 5/5 flying first strike lifelink angel for 5. This is just a good card. And my opponent conceded because they were like, oh, I can't beat Baneslayer. So, one of the things that I was hoping would show up in that game, but didn't. So, you saw that I had a creature, Veto, which makes it so whenever I gain life, an opponent loses that much life. Also in this deck is an enchantment that says whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. If you have Veto and Exquisite Blood out on the field, and your opponent loses life or you gain life, you win the game. Because Veto happens if you gain life, and then your opponent loses life, and then Exquisite Blood happens, and your opponent loses life, and you gain life, and then Veto happens again because you gained life, and this happens infinitely until your opponent dies. Gross. I actually have a historic deck that tries to do that a little more regularly. Let me just do... Oh, Jordan's back. Okay. Uh-oh! UI broke. I'm gonna play this deck, because I haven't played it yet. Sure. Gonna play Knight of the Ebon Legion. It's a 1/2 for 1. At the beginning of your end step, if a player lost 4 or more life this turn, that could be you or your opponent, put a +1/+1 counter on Knight of the Ebon Legion. And also, he has an activated ability for 2 and a black. You can give him +3/+3 and Death Touch until end of turn. So he can trigger his own ability, which is useful. So I'm not going to attack because Overwhelmed Apprentice can block this turn, but that's okay. Knight is so good. Knight of the Ebon Legion is a pretty great card, yeah. Zoom! So whenever Fervent Champion attacks, another target attacking knight you control gets +1/+0 until end of turn. And it has First Strike and Haste, and it's a 1/1 for 1. It's pretty good. Blacklands Paragon. It has Flash. When it enters the battlefield, target knight gains Death Touch and Lifelink until end of turn. So Fervent Champion had Death Touch and Lifelink, so it dealt damage to the opposing creature, which is lethal damage because it has Death Touch. And then the opposing creature died. And then that, since some of my creatures, since my opponent was dealt damage by the creatures that weren't blocked hitting my opponent, I activated Spectacle, so I was able to cast Drill Bit for 1 black mana instead of 2 generic mana and a black mana. And Drillbit says, target player reveals their hand, you may choose a non-land card from it, and that player discards that card. And I do a super aggro deck when you knew this was just one of the decks that I hadn't played yet. I was not trying to goozle you, I'm just trying to go through all my decks. Spawn of Mayhem, it also has Spectacle, so it costs 1 mana less if you have dealt damage to your opponent that turn, and at the beginning of your upkeep it deals 1 damage to your opponent, and it deals 1 damage to your opponent, 1 damage to you, and then if either you or your opponent have less than 10 life, he gets a +1/+1 counter on him. Yeah, it did seem like you mulliganed down to 5 cards, which is pretty tough to come back from in a blue deck like that, where you kind of just need a lot of stuff to do to get going, as opposed to a lot of individually powerful things to do. Alright, I think this is the last deck that I haven't played other than the mono white life gain deck. That is standard. I have my historic decks, but I don't think they would be liked any more than these. Look at this art, look at the art on this plains. Look at that dog! This is the best art on any land in Magic. Look how fucking good that dog is! Just having a great day out on the plains, man. Moat Piranha, 3/3 defender for 2. Okay. Conclave Mentor. Whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters would be put on a creature you control, that many +1 +1/+1 counters are put on that creature instead. When it dies, I gain life equal to its power. So this guy makes it so things that put counters on my things are better. Like this. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. It gains protection from the color of your choice until end of turn. So, if a thing has protection from a color, protection means a couple of things. Generally, it means it is protected from that color. So, things of the chosen color, in that case blue, could not target Conclave Mentor, could not deal damage to Conclave Mentor, and could not block Conclave Mentor, and also cannot be attached to Conclave Mentor, which is one of the more interesting interactions. And then Watley's Raptor, when it enters the battlefield, proliferate, so you can put an additional counter of any counters that permanent already has. So, Planeswalkers are fueled by loyalty counters, so I could put more loyalty counters on Planeswalkers, but then if I have creatures that have +1/+1 counters on them, I can put additional +1/+1 counters on them. And I can do that for any number of permanents that I want. And permanents are just any card that stays on the battlefield. Doo-doo. Oh yeah, Nessian Horn Beetle has an effect that says, at the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control another creature with power 4 or greater, which I did, this guy, what was it? It gets a +1/+1 counter on it. So if you have another big strong friend, then the Nessian Horn Beetle is like, oh man, I have a big strong friend, I'm gonna get strong too, and then it gets a counter. So it was getting 2 counters every turn, because Conclave Mentor was giving it an additional counter whenever it gave itself a counter. So Jordan's probably going to win this one. Because Teferi's Ageless Insight, if you would draw a card except the first one you draw in each of your turns, draw 2 cards instead. So this doubles the amount of cards that he draws from every source, and whenever he draws a card, he mills me for 2 off of these enchantments. So this deck was very much not fast enough to deal with the mill deck, which is unfortunate, because I mean, the decks that I have that are fast enough to deal with the mill deck are too fast for the mill deck to really get a word in edgewise. So it's tough. It's tough to find the right balance here. Also, okay. Like the sound that the mill noise makes when the deck is empty. I don't really have audio on. Okay, so let's. It's tough. It's tough to find the right balance, but I feel like a better example game for like going up against the mill deck is a deck that I don't have the cards for, but one of the best decks right now is the ramp deck. And ramping is just getting more mana faster than your opponent. So normally, Magic is limited in how much mana you have by only being able to play 1 land a turn, right? So generally, the game assumes that on turn 1 you have 1 mana, on turn 2 you have 2 mana, on turn 3 you have 3 mana, and so on and so forth. And then once you start getting to turns 4 and 5, then it starts being less consistent that you have a land to play every turn. So most decks will only play spells that cost upwards of 4 or 5, like 5 mana is usually the place where a lot of decks cap out. Ramp decks will do things like on turn 2 they'll play a spell that gets them that lets them play an additional land. And then the next turn, they'll play a spell that lets them get a land, get 2 lands from their library, put one of them onto the battlefield, one of them into their hand. So not only are they going up an additional land that they didn't have to play that turn, they are securing the fact that they are going to be able to continue to play a land every turn. So they use these kinds of things to get really big amounts of mana really fast, and then they play, like, a spell that, let's go see the very popular, payoff for getting a truckload of mana very fast. 7+, not collected. This guy, right here. Ugin the Spirit Dragon. So he costs 8 mana. So you would think, oh, it must be really hard to be able to cast Ugin. For the decks that are built around casting Ugin, they can cast Ugin. They can get this big Spirit Dragon out, no problem. So he comes in with 7 loyalty, which is really hard to get through if you are, like, if your main way of getting rid of planeswalkers is by hitting them with creatures, which is usually the case. So he has a lot of loyalty, so it's hard to kill him. He can gain 2 loyalty to activate the ability to deal 3 damage to any target, which is very strong. But also, their second ability, -X. Exile each permanent with converted mana cost X or less that is 1 or more colors. So that is basically everything that isn't an artifact. An artifact, an explicitly colorless creature, or lands. So, in the example of, like, up against the mill deck, the mill deck is really heavily built around those enchantments, Teferi's Tutelage. Whenever you draw a card, your opponent mills 2 cards, right? Makes sense. Ugin the Spirit Dragon activates his second ability for 3, because Teferi's Tutelage costs 3 mana. Every Teferi's Tutelage that the mill deck has on the battlefield gets exiled. It goes away. It basically goes away forever. And that also applies to any creatures that the mill deck has, like any of the walls, because most of those creatures cost 3 or less mana. That also applies to, like, it would make almost their entire board go away. And even after that, they would still have, Ugin would still have 4 loyalty left. And they could do that all the way up to 6 mana without making Ugin go away. Because when a Planeswalker has 0 loyalty, it goes away. So you could play Ugin the Spirit Dragon for 8 mana and activate its second ability for 7. And everything that has a color, at least, that costs 7 mana or less, goes away. This is symmetrical, so all of your colored permanents also go away. So if you were, like, if you managed to cast Ugin by using creatures that tap for mana, those creatures are also going away. But then you still have this big, extremely powerful Planeswalker that can deal 3 damage to any target every turn. So, counterspells. Yeah, so, like, one of the main ways that you would deal with a spell like this is to have access to counterspells, which are just like, you cast a counterspell, that spell doesn't happen, right? Or you play spells. The problem is, even if you play spells that are explicitly capable of destroying planeswalkers, there is no opportunity to destroy a planeswalker before it has the chance to activate one of its abilities. Because activating its ability... Okay. Let's get into some nitty-gritty here. I cast Ugin the Spirit Dragon, and my opponent has a spell that can destroy target planeswalker. So, Ugin the Spirit Dragon resolves. It enters the battlefield. I have priority, which means I am allowed to do stuff before my opponent has the opportunity to do stuff. So, before my opponent is allowed to cast the spell that will destroy Ugin, I can activate Ugin at least once. So my opponent has the spell in hand. They have the mana available. But before they can kill Ugin, Ugin can activate and just, like, destroy everything on their board, deal 3 damage to them, deal 3 damage to whatever they want. Doesn't matter. Ugin will have a chance to activate its ability before the opponent has the opportunity to do something about it. So, for the most part, the way that you deal with Ugin is to make it so that it doesn't enter the battlefield at all. Yeah, and the ability, the second ability, Exiles, which means even if you're a deck that has ways of getting things that have been destroyed back to the battlefield, you can't because it's exiled. It's not. It doesn't go to your graveyard. It goes away. So yeah, Ugin is a big problem for a lot of decks that don't have counterspells, which is most decks. Because a lot of the top tier play is ramp deck against ramp deck, it kind of devolves into, like, I'm gonna cast Ugin, and my opponent, who is also playing a ramp deck, is playing counterspells to keep the opponent from playing Ugin. So they play their counterspell, my Ugin doesn't happen, and then they play their own Ugin. Or I wait until I have extra mana to cast my Ugin, because then when they try to counterspell my Ugin, I can counterspell their counterspell, and my Ugin happens. Magic can be pretty complicated, but at a base level, it's not that complex. You just gotta learn the fundamental interactions, eh? I'm gonna play more of this deck. Maybe just another game or two. It's getting late. It's almost midnight here, so probably not gonna be streaming for too terribly much longer. This hand is fine. It's not exciting, I'm not happy about it, because it doesn't really do the thing that I want to do with the deck, but it's good enough. Hello. Hello! Good game. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Tiny Bones! I love Tiny Bones. At the beginning of each end step, if an opponent discarded a card this turn, you draw a card and lose a life, and then he has an activated ability for 6 mana. Each opponent with no cards in hand loses 10 life, which is a lot. Solemn Simulacrum. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, put that land onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle your library. And when it dies, you may draw a card, which is pretty good. I'm gonna play Waste Not, which does a bunch of bullshit whenever my opponent discards a card, but I haven't been drawing into any of the cards that I have that makes my opponent discard cards. Which is unfortunate. Cavalier of Night. He can sacrifice a creature to destroy a creature. So he sacrifices Solemn Simulacrum and draws a card because Solemn Simulacrum died, and then he gets to destroy one of my creatures, and he destroyed Grim Dancer. But I can destroy Cavalier of Night with my Ravenous Chupacabra, because when it enters the battlefield, I destroy a creature an opponent controls. And normally, Cavalier of Night would be able to get value out of that, because when Cavalier of Night dies, you can return a creature card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. but he didn't have any creatures with cost 3 or less, because Solemn Simulacrum cost 4. Murderous Rider has an adventure, which can destroy a creature or planeswalker, and you lose 2 life. So I'm going to destroy Liliana Dreadhorde General, because that is an extremely powerful planeswalker. Plaguecrafter. Each player sacrifices a creature or planeswalker. Each player who can't discards a card. I'm going to sacrifice Timoret, because he is not as good as Tiny Bones. Because Tiny Bones is great. Gaia's Blessing. Alright, so he shuffled his graveyard back into his library and drew a card. Which is pretty good. So, Underworld Dreams is an enchantment. Whenever an opponent draws a card, it deals 1 damage to that player, and it seems like my opponent wouldn't be able to get enough done before drawing cards would kill them. So, I won! Woo! Let's do one more. One more, because I wanna make my opponent discard 1,000,000 cards. I do have Dave in this deck, right? Hang on. I need to double check to make sure Dave is around. Ba-da. I do. There he is. Davriel, Rogue Shadow Mage, aka Dave. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, if that player has 1 or fewer cards in hand, Davriel deals 2 damage to them, and he has -1 activated ability to make a player discard a card. So Dave makes the opponent discard cards and then punishes them for having no cards in their hand. Unfortunately, you can only activate his ability twice if you want to keep him around for his static ability. Still pretty good, though. I'm gonna divest. I'm gonna force my opponent to discard a artifact or creature, and they don't have any! Youch! So I am up against... Is this Esper, or is this just blue-black control? I think this is just blue-black control. Okay. And they drew into an artifact after the fact, which is annoying. Kill my creature. I play another creature. I'm gonna hit him. Aww. They returned Hypnotic Spectre to my hand, but that's okay, because now I get to play Haunted of Night's Reach without having to worry about my opponent being able to counterspell it or something, because they spent their blue mana. So Haunted of Night's Reach. At the beginning of my upkeep, each opponent discards a card for each shrine I control. Which is usually just going to be 1, but... Are they going to counter my Waste Not? Nope. Okay. So Waste Not. Whenever an opponent discards a creature card, I get a zombie. When an opponent discards a land card, I get 2 black mana. If an opponent discards a non-creature, non-land card, I draw a card. And they cycled Shark Typhoon, which makes a flying shark. But because cycling involves discarding a card, I got to draw a card off of that. And that's value, baby. They stole my Honden of Night's Reach! Well, that's rude. Or they made a copy of Honden of Night's Reach. I'm gonna discard Slight Street Ruffian. So I know they have in Bolus's Clutches, which he steals a permanent, which is bad for me. But he didn't have the mana to do so, so he just exiled my Hypnotic Spectre, which is annoying, because I did want that Hypnotic Spectre, but what are you gonna do? I'm gonna play Nightmare Shepherd. I will exile my Boot Nipper and make a new Boot Nipper with Death Touch. Alright, so I'm gonna discard Awaken the Erstwhile, which forces each player to discard their hand, and each player creates a number of zombies equal to the number of cards they discarded. Ah. And then all of my creatures get all creatures, not just my creatures, all creatures get -4/-4 until end of turn, which is unfortunate. I'm going to exile that card from his graveyard, because he has a thing that'll let him cast it from his graveyard. And I'm gonna cast this guy, which makes it so whenever my opponent discards a card, they lose 2 life. But now they don't really have any cards left in hand. So a lot of my discard effects aren't going to do a ton, but I don't know, some stuff could happen. Both my opponent are just kind of flying by the seat of our pants, basically playing entirely based off of whatever cards we draw off the top of our decks. Because we both have an enchantment that forces the opponent to discard every turn, so... Thankfully, I have a lot more stuff on the field. Oh no, they drew 4 cards! Oh, Captioner is broke. Testing, 1, 2. Alright, I did it! Stuff. Yeah, it's... the Captioner. The Captioner does that sometimes. Anyways. I did it. I forced my opponent to discard forever and ever and ever and ever. And then they also did that to me, but I did it gooder. So, I think that's almost 3 hours, which is a reasonable amount of time, I suppose. Usually like to go a little longer than that, but I started so late today. Oh my goodness. Quitter. Well. 6 and stones and all that. Anyways, let's see. Thanks you guys. I can't talk good. Thank you all for showing up and hanging out tonight. I know it wasn't the most wild and craziest stream. It was kind of just magic, but hey. I enjoy Magic, and I hope you guys enjoyed Magic too. Thanks again to Dan for the gift sub, and Explosive Crate for the Twitch Prime sub. Is there anything else? I think that was... Oh, thanks again to Ashok for the 5-month resub. That's the one that didn't show up in my mini feed. I was like, I know there was another one. Let's see. Upcoming streams this week. Thinking about getting Deadly Premonition 2 going. So get excited for that, because I sure am. Risk of Rain 2 major update coming out tomorrow, I suppose? Hand over the Gardettos. I'm actually currently out of Gardettos, and hang on. Hang on, let me make it more interesting. Or more accurate. New source. Ba-ba-ba. This is more along the lines of what I'm dealing with in the snack situation. So yeah, Risk of Rain 2 major update. I'm not gonna do a Risk of Rain 2 stream tomorrow. I mean, everybody's gonna be doing streams of it tomorrow. I'm gonna be missing out on that sweet SEO. But what I'm gonna wait for is I'm gonna wait for a couple of specific mods, because there are some mods that I just really don't want to play co-op Risk of Rain without these days, which are all items are shared, and also, I mean, big lobby, just to be sure that I can fit in everyone that wants to participate. So once those mods are available, probably gonna do a co-op Risk of Rain 2 stream with viewers, and it should be a good time. Hopefully I'll be able to make it so that everybody can participate if they so desire. What else? Generally been thinking about doing just more co-op streams in general, so I have been thinking about trying to put together Payday 2. At some point I would like to do a big ol' I Divine Cybermancy co-op situation. I mean, that might not happen, same thing with Payday 2, but I've been thinking about it. So Deadly Premonition 2 is the big one. Risk of Rain 2 is something that I'm hopefully going to get to sometime this week, assuming that all of the mods are updated and I have people that are actually interested in playing with me. Big hopes, I know, but hey. So, other than that... also, hopefully upcoming at some point in the relatively near future, not immediately, but Sekiro. Sekiro is not a super duper long game if you generally know what you're doing and where you're going, so I could probably knock that out in a couple of streams, which should be fun. I like that game a lot. You got your Excelsium in eye, so you're looking forward to it? Nice. So yeah, I think that's just about everything. Thanks again to everyone for showing up and hanging out and chatting. Thanks to Jordan for the games of Magic. And extra special thanks to everyone that gifted subs or subbed or followed or donated bits or whatever. Just in general, not even specifically today. Just thank you very much for all of your support. Oh, and thanks to everyone that has given direct donations as well. If you want to do that instead of giving bits, there's a there's a link in the About section. I don't know where they put that on the Twitch page these days. I don't really look at a whole lot of Twitch pages, but there is a donation link if you are so inclined. All right, that's enough shilling. Hopefully I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you so much. Oh yeah, you could also join the Discord. It's 18 plus because I don't want to have to deal with moderating young people, not because there's a bunch of porno everywhere. It's fine. Thanks, Acker. Later.